Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Sonia. I'm an artist from Germany and today I have a sketchbook tour for you guys. This is the 6th sketchbook I've finished so far, but it's my first sketchbook tour on this channel. I finished the sketchbook back in December and I have a video up on my YouTube channel where I filled up the last 4 spreads in this sketchbook. During January I was very busy with the Burp Fest challenge, so the sketchbook tour had to wait a bit, but today is finally the day. So, this is a Hahnemühle D&S sketchbook in A5. I really like working in this format because it's not too small and not too big, and it's also good to carry around with you. So this is quite a thick sketchbook. It has 80 sheets, so 160 pages, and since I like to fill both sides of the pages, this might be quite a longer video, so get yourself cozy, get yourself something to drink, and let's get started. So I started the sketchbook back in April 2024 and I finished this in December 2024. I don't usually plan out my first pages, but I always put in like a little banner on the front page where I write down which number of sketchbook this is that I finished and when I started it and when I ended it. I also like to include some type of art inspirational quotes on my front and on the last page. In some sketchbooks I just start straight with some random sketches, and for this in particular, here on my YouTube channel I have a video from one of my previous sketchbooks where I did the Galaxy Lady painting and I was inspired by that, and so I had this idea for the first page, so I designed it that way. I used watercolor and some colored pencil here and there. I had bought the Schminke Horadam granulating colors, and so I liked using those in the Galaxy Lady painting, and so I used them again for the planets here, and for the sparkling bits I used my Finetech watercolors. So here I did a simple ink page. I just wanted to do some flowers and keep it quite loose and simple. Here I went on Pinterest and I found this cute picture of a deer and I really liked how it looked, and so I wanted to draw this in my sketchbook. I just kept it simple. I didn't want to do a full painting of it, just a quick warm-up sketch for the day. I used Faber-Castell Polychromos for this one. I really like the colors in this. And since I had some space left here on the right, I did some watercolor flowers and added some details with polychromos. So here I did this moon and sun pattern. I was a bit in a galaxy type of vibe during that period, so I don't know, I really like drawing sun, moons and stars and something like this, and I really like this design and I would like to do some more of those in the future. So here I did another Galaxy Lady. I just had this idea and I wanted to just quickly put it down on my sketchbook if I want to do a painting of it later on, and so to keep the idea somewhere. I really like how I designed the sky around her, and this is just simply ink and watercolor and some colored pencils here and there. So in this sketchbook I took some pages to work on color mixing, which I haven't really done previous to this sketchbook, and since I started to mainly use watercolors in my work, I really needed to understand how to mix colors properly, and so from this sketchbook on I decided to focus on that and use some pages just for practice. I wrote down the brand and color, so if I like that color I can look back and know exactly how to mix that color. So here are some Pinterest references that I sketched down with ballpoint pen and added a simple highlighter background. This one was also a Pinterest reference, but I changed quite a bit, so it doesn't look exactly like the picture. I'm kind of sad that I didn't film this because I really like how this one turned out. I thought in the beginning it might be just a quick sketch, just like the deer one, but it ended up looking finished, and I really like the flow of the composition that I did for this, and so I would have loved to do a painting of this, but maybe I do this in the future on an extra sheet of paper, maybe on my good arches paper, because I really like this. And I use Paul Rubens watercolors for this and some polychromos for detail. So here are some portrait studies, again from Pinterest reference, and I did these with graphite, and I don't use anything to seal my drawings and paintings in my sketchbook. I usually put this type of paper on top of drawings to keep them safe from smudging and get ruined. But on this one, I just went over with a light wash of watercolor, and this seals in the graphite good so it won't smudge. And also it gives the page this type of vintage look, which looks really cool. This one was the start of Mermaid 2024. I didn't do the whole challenge. I just did 5 or 6, I think. And all the mermaids that I drew during that period, I have videos on my YouTube channel. This one was the first one, and I did this kind of rose lady with watercolor and some colored pencils, and I added this border with my fine tech watercolors. So here is a quick doodle page, which I did when I felt a bit uninspired. I didn't know what to draw, but I really wanted to do something that day. And so I came up with these patterns, and this is a fun way to just do something mindless and just have a relaxing time. You can practice limited color palettes and just do whatever without having to think about it. I really like this page. I tend to draw and paint lemons all the time, but when I feel a bit stuck in my art, I just gravitate towards drawing and painting lemons, and so I did this pattern design here, which I think looks really cute. Here I did this mermaid painting. So for this I prepared quite a bit, so I went on Pinterest and took some reference pictures of underwater scenes so that I could put those into Procreate, and with the color selecting tool I picked out different colors to mix with my watercolors so the painting would look more natural and realistic. And if I hadn't put that much thought into the colors, this wouldn't have turned out this way. So I really like how this one turned out. And for Mermaid 2025, I want to do a full painting like this, something similar, but on good watercolor paper. And as I said, when I feel uninspired or I have some type of art block, I tend to go and paint lemons. So here's another lemon slice page with ink and watercolor, and this one, I love this page. I did these lemons here in a row with watercolors, and I really like how I designed the whole page and the border here with a ink brush pen. I think this was the Tombow Fudenosuke. The only problem I have with this page is I wish I didn't do these patterns with fine liners, but instead used watercolors, because I feel like these are way too saturated compared to the more muted palette I used for the lemons here. But I love this page. So here we have the first ugly page. So I went on Pinterest, and I was still in an art block during that phase, and I saw these pictures on Pinterest and I wanted to quickly sketch them out on my sketchbook. But for some reason, my cats always end up looking weird. So the bodies look fine, but my faces always look unnatural on cats. I don't know why. I draw a lot of animals, but cats are the most difficult for me to draw. I haven't found a way yet to kind of draw them naturally or do them kind of stylized, so I have to work on that. This one, I just did this seashell design here with watercolors and polychromos, and I liked how I mixed these colors here with watercolors, so I dedicated the next 2 pages to that. I used Paul Rubens watercolors for these, and I wrote down how I mixed these colors, and then I did this pattern design pages here, just like washi tapes, and I had a lot of fun with this. This is very relaxing to do. It's just watercolors and a uniball gold pen, and here is a bit of ink. So here was another idea that I had in mind, so I just had to draw this and keep this in my sketchbook. I haven't really done anything with this character yet, but in the future I plan on using her for something. And here I just did a quick orange tree sketch. Here are two more color mixing pages. Here I focus more on earth tones. With these two pages I kind of started something in the sketchbook, which means that going through the sketchbook I painted and drew a lot of fish in here. I just did these two pages like casually without thinking too much. I had some leftover paints on my palette and I wanted to use them up. And so I just mindlessly doodled these fish around here on these two pages, and I used a white jelly roll, and here I used a red ballpoint pen, and here and there I used some polychromos to outline. After these two pages I did a couple of more in here. Throughout the sketchbook the style of how I drew fish evolved, and I really wanted to experiment a lot with style and materials, but I feel like these two pages are the best out of all of them. So I was happy with these two pages, but I kind of failed to recreate this kind of style. I don't know if it's because when I did this page I didn't expect anything out of it, so I kept it very loose, and since I like this so much I kind of had like this pressure on me on the other pages, so maybe that's why I didn't like them so much, because I had this expectation, I had this in mind, and they weren't turning out like this, so I was kind of a bit upset with the other pages, not all of them, but some. So here is one of those pages that I expected more out of it. So since I had a lot of fun with the other two pages, I decided to do another one right after. And here I really kept it very limited with the colors, and I like the color palette, but some of the fish didn't turn out the way I wanted them to be, especially this one. But I really like the other ones. Here is a quick mermaid drawing that I did. I really like the flow of her and how I designed her. And these are the two last mermaids I did for Mermaid 2024. I really love these two pages and the limited color palette I used for them, and the different ways I designed both mermaids. They have the same colors, but they look totally different from one another. And I just love how I designed the borders and the two pages. So this is also on my YouTube channel if you like to check this out. And here I reused some of those watercolors that I had left on my palette from these two mermaids. This is one of the fish pages that I like the least, because I had the other pages in mind and I really wanted to recreate that. This doesn't have this loose feel about it. Here I did another lemon page and another fish page. For this page I decided to use vibrant colors, really neon type of colors. I like this page more than the previous one. For this page I think I used watercolors as a base and went over that with polychromos. So it's hard for me to remember all of the pages because this was back in May 2024. So it's been a couple of months since then. I've done so many drawings and paintings that sometimes remembering what I did 6 months ago is quite hard. So here again I did some portrait studies from Pinterest pictures with a ballpoint pen. Here I wanted to do a watercolor study of this picture I found on Pinterest, and I know this is the paper in the sketchbook isn't watercolor paper, so watercolor is doable on this paper, but you have to be careful not to use too much water in it, so you can do heavy washes of watercolor mixed with a lot of water in it, because the paper will get damaged. But if you know how to control your water and your paints, you will be fine. The result isn't perfect, but just for practice purpose it's quite good. Here is another lemon design page. Since Since I like to use both sides of a page and I used a lot of water and paint on the other side, I didn't want to ruin that, and so I kept it quite loose with a bit of ink and some cheap watercolors so that it wouldn't go through the page and ruin this painting. This is another watercolor study I did of a Pinterest picture, and I love how this one turned out. Again, this isn't perfect because this paper isn't meant for watercolors, but I love how this one turned out. I love the muted color palette and I like the effect I got with this. And usually for all of the paintings I was using my Winsor & Newton Cutman watercolor palette. So here we have another ugly spread, which this is what sketchbooks are meant to be. It's just for experimenting and have fun, so not all the pages have to be a full-on masterpiece. I know I am guilty myself of putting the pressure on me that every page has to be perfect, because you know, you go on the internet and you see all these perfect sketchbooks, but you have to let that pressure go and just realize that sketchbooks are meant for practice and have fun. And in this case I had some art block and I had to work my way out of it, so I did this kind of mandala thingy in here with ink, and then I decided to add some highlighter. And here again I was trying to practice some cats, which I like this one, but the other ones have weird faces again, but it was just to practice, so this is fine. Here again I went on Pinterest and I saw this picture of a fruit vending cart thingy, and I really liked this, and so I did a quick ink sketch and colored this in with watercolors. And here I did another watercolor study, and here you can really tell that obviously this paper isn't meant for watercolors. So I like the leaves, but here I really reached the limit of what this paper could hold, so it didn't turn out perfect. But again, this was for practice and this is fine. I'm not too sad about the result. Here I don't know what I was thinking. I started with this kind of underpainting thing with these neon colors. I think I used the Paul Rubens neon watercolors for this. I haven't really used them that much, so I kind of wanted them to include them in a page, and I did this underpainting. And for the ink part I had these plasticky shape things to draw, these type of flower shape thingies. I don't know how these are called, but you know what I mean. I didn't know how to use them properly, and also the ink pen that I was using wasn't really flowing on this type of paper, and so I ended up doing a disaster. And I really hated this page, and I'm not about ripping off pages out of your sketchbook. Usually I don't even cover them up when I'm not satisfied with what I drew, but this page was bothering me, so I did this cute panda drawing here on a separate sheet of paper, and I glued this on top so to cover up the mess that I did there. But he's so cute, just look at him. Okay, so and here is another kind of failed fish page, but it ended up okay. So here is this idea I had. I saw some pictures of like this kind of fishing house on a lake on Pinterest, and I wanted to do an illustration of a cat fishing with this type of wooden house. I love the colors I used. I love the texture I got here on the water. I'm glad I left the background kind of white in here and I didn't add a sky, because I think if I added a sky in the background it would have been way too much. So the white in here kind of brings a bit of contrast into these pages, and I really like this one. I would like to do some more illustrations like this. Here again I used the Winsor & Newton Cutman watercolors and some ink here and there, just some more lemons. I think I used highlighters for these. Here was just a quick little painting with the Cutman watercolors, and I added this ink border around it. So here I just designed this pattern. I think I had some earrings that looked kind of like this, and these inspired me to do this page, and I used the fine tech watercolors for this. Look how sparkling these are. So here I started illustrating these cute bunnies. I love these two in here. They look so cute, and I kind of started a little series in here. I just drew some bunny illustrations from here on in my sketchbook, and I also have some on loose sheets of paper, like these 2 pages. I did a couple of those during that time. I really had fun with these loose landscape type of drawings and illustrations, and it was very fun experimenting with the shapes of the bushes and leaves and the colors. This one, I really like this page. I like the background, how I did this. And here is another fish doodle page. And here I had bought some Caran d'Ache Neocolor 2 crayons, and I wanted to try them out. And since I didn't know the medium, I always, when I try new art supplies, I tend to draw or paint stuff that I'm comfortable and familiar drawing. In my case, most of the times it's portraits or lemons. So in this case, I didn't have a lot of colors, and so I decided to go with lemons. I really liked working with these crayons, and I bought some more, but I haven't used them, so I really need to include those in my artwork from now on, because this was very fun to do this page. So here I saw a limited color palette on Pinterest. You know, those pictures where there is a photo and on the bottom there are like 4 or 5 colors selected from that photo as a color palette, and I saw one of those and I liked the palette, and I did this pattern design here on the page and filled it up with, I mixed the colors with my Cotman watercolors and Van Gogh Buff Titanium. I love doing pages like this because it's simple, and if you had a stressful day, you can pick up your sketchbook, just draw some shapes and fill them in with whatever colors you like and just relax. Another limited color palette with some easy designs and shapes and some more color mixing. I was really into this cozy mode, just like putting on some relaxing music and do these pages just to relax and have fun. Here I decided to do some pattern with fruits. I didn't sketch them, I don't think I sketched them out first. I just went in straight with ink and then colored them in with watercolors. So I did here pears, apples, lemons and oranges. This was very time consuming, but I love this page. At the end, it was kind of driving me insane, because then I kind of lost some patience and I wanted to finish it because I tend to be very impatient sometimes, so maybe this is a good way to learn how to practice patience. In the end, I'm happy that I finished this page because it looks cool. And here is another bunny illustration. So here I started taking landscape painting a bit more serious. I was always scared of painting landscapes, and I always tried to avoid them because I would feel overwhelmed by the amount of detail, and I didn't know where to start and what to take out of and simplify. And so now, if you've seen some of my work, you know that I do a lot of landscape paintings, and you see how much things can change in a couple of months. Something that you thought you would hate and not enjoy turns out to love that. And so getting out of your comfort zone is hard, but it's very beneficial. This is a bit of mixed media. I did this with watercolor, and I used some colored pencils, and I used some Caran d'Ache Neocolor 2 and some white gel pen here and also here. And I really like how I did these rocks in here. Even though this is not proper watercolor paper, I really like how these ones turned out. And I always love drawing beach scenes or anything that has to do with lighthouses and fish and beach, oceans. Here I didn't really know what to draw, so I took out a micron pen and I doodled these beetles, insects, thingies on this page. This was fun to do. And here is just some cute flowers in ink with some watercolor to add a pop of color to the page. Just some simple stuff to draw every day and practice and fill out pages quicker. And here is another landscape study. I really like this one as well. For this one, I don't know how I came up with this, but I really wanted to do this type of mosaic painting, and so I designed this one, did the inking part, and then went over it with watercolors. The result isn't too good because of the fact that this isn't watercolor paper, so the colors aren't bright enough. I would like to do something like this on proper watercolor paper and test this out, how that would look on that sort of paper. Here are some watercolor planets that I doodled here on this page. Not all of them are perfect, like this one I kind of messed up, but I really like the colors here and here. And I really need to do some paintings of some galaxies and planets because I love galaxy stuff. And some more lemons. So here was when I decided to get deeper into watercolors. And what I mean by that is that I love painting with watercolors, but up to this point I was using my Winsor & Newton Cutman watercolor palette, the 48 set, and I've added some colors here and there by Winsor & Newton, but the professional line, and I had some Schminke Horadam and some Van Gogh colors in that palette as well. Since this was in June and in July I went on vacation, the setup that I had for my watercolors was way too big to carry around, and it's not very practical. If you're at home on your desk, it's one thing, but to take out on the road with you and maybe do some paintings outside, this is not very suitable for. And I was running out of some colors anyways, so I wasn't really sure if I should fill them up. So I just looked up on the internet and I bought this Van Gogh set of 24 colors. Don't mind the dirtiness of the palette. I don't clean it because you can always reuse them, and so I don't like to waste paints. I added some colors. I added the Buff Titanium and Davies Gray, and I swapped out these two colors and I put these two in. I changed it just a bit for my personal needs, and so I bought this and I wanted to do a comparison of my usual setup with this new smaller one, because I was used to having so many different colors and I wasn't really sure if a smaller set would work for me to take on vacation, and I wanted to prepare for it before I then went on vacation and I would have a problem with that specific palette. But that's just a me problem because I am a terrible overthinker, and so I always need to unnecessarily stress myself out with stuff like this. So this wouldn't have been necessary because even in my big set of watercolors, there are so many colors that I don't use, so there is no need in watercolors to have this many colors on hand. Now that I've used the smaller palettes and I only use those, I'm happy that I did the transition and started using other palettes and other brands, and you really don't need these many colors because you can always mix. And just for traveling and being around, going around and taking your watercolor palettes with you, having like 50 colors in that palette is way too much. 24 is more than enough. I have 26 in there because yeah, I needed those extra 2 colors. So back to this. I wanted to do a comparison of the 2 palettes and the colors and brands, and I wanted to test the quality. And this is with my Cutman series and this is with the Van Gogh. I love both pages. Both brands are very good, but I noticed with the Van Gogh, those paints are much creamier and much more vibrant than the Cutman, and so I immediately fell in love with these paints. And I love doing these little strawberries, and I have a painting like this on my YouTube channel as well, but it's not one of those. It's a third one that I did on proper watercolor paper just to test out the Van Gogh colors even more. So here are some ink doodles and some more bunnies and these cute sunflowers in here, which I did with colored pencils. So here I did these tile patterns, like Italian style tiles, which I love doing. I just used ink and watercolors for this, and drawing stuff like this is also very relaxing to do. So this one, I didn't plan this out at all. I just did the yellow underpainting and then it evolved from there. So I did this lady and I love her outfit and I love how I did the border. It's a bit of a crazy page because this wasn't planned at all, as I said, and I just doodled everything around, and I'm impressed with how good this one turned out, and I really like this page. Maybe not this part here, but the rest is, I love it. Here is a small mandala and a quote that I saw on Pinterest, I think. So up to here, this was the beginning of July, so up to this point I had already filled up half of the sketchbook, and I was working a lot in the sketchbook and I was filling it up very quick. So I had the stupid idea of kind of slowing down the process because I wanted to take this sketchbook out with me on vacation, and I didn't want to run out of pages once I was on vacation, and I didn't want to bring another sketchbook with me, and so that's just me overthinking everything again. And so I slowed down, which was a stupid idea looking back at it, because I also took a watercolor sketchbook with me and I only worked in that, and I also was on vacation, so the time that I had for painting and drawing, I used that to paint in my Sicily watercolor sketchbook, which I haven't finished yet, but I will finish it probably in the next couple of weeks, so there will be a sketchbook tour for that one as well. So I think I only did 7 spreads in this sketchbook while I was on vacation, so slowing down was kind of a dumb idea because I had more than enough pages. I don't know how I thought half of it wouldn't be enough, but yeah, I went that route. So anyways, if I didn't slow down, I think I would have finished this sketchbook quicker than I did, because it took me 8 months, and so yeah, I think I would have finished this sooner. So but anyways, I did these seashells here in watercolor. I used from here on I used the Van Gogh palette because I wanted to practice using this palette before going on vacation, and then I somehow got inspired to do this lady here, and I love the colors, this type of pastel-y looking colors. Here is when I started drawing on vacation. I did another quick fish page. This page, I really like this one. This one was inspired by a dress that I own with this kind of pattern, and so I really like the dress, and so I got inspired to do this, and I love how I designed the page and the dress and everything. Love this. So here I just took my sketchbook out and I was doodling these faces with a fountain pen, and here is another unplanned lady that I painted here. She looks kind of funny, but I love it. Here I felt a bit uninspired, and so I just doodled random stuff on here with ink and colored some parts in with watercolors. Here I did some quick owl sketches. So here for this cute page, I was into kind of children's books, illustration types of vibe. I really wanted to do something like this, and I really love how this one turned out. I love how vibrant the colors are. Here I just doodled this cute owl, and I did a quick doodle of this type of character in my Royal Talents sketchbook, and I wanted to do a more detailed painting here in this sketchbook, but it didn't turn out too good, but it's okay. And some more owls, just some ink sketches, and I used some Ecoline brush pens to add some colors to the pages. I love how I did this owl here with different colored pencils, and I wrote down which colored pencils I used here just in case I want to look it up, and I love it. I saw this picture on Pinterest and it wasn't this colorful, but immediately the idea popped into my mind to make it this colorful and illustrative, and I love it. This one was another failed fish page, and this is also the last page that I did on vacation. So as you see, it was totally not the right idea to slow down the process of me working in the sketchbook. So this one that I did when I came back from vacation and I was kind of in an art block situation. I fell out of the routine of working in the sketchbook, and because I didn't use this as much while I was on vacation and I wasn't doing a lot of sketching, but I did a lot of urban sketching and landscape paintings in my watercolor sketchbook that I dedicated to only Sicily related stuff. I just kind of had to work my way through getting back into the habit of using the sketchbook, and so I went on Pinterest and I saw these flower bouquets and I wanted to loosely sketch them out. I just went in straight with watercolors and then went over it with a fountain pen. Here are two still life studies from Pinterest pictures in kind of mixed media. I used watercolors, colored pencils, gel pens, and all that good stuff. More owls, and this one I wanted to have the same results and loose effect of these two pages, but this is what I mean with when you have the pressure of you want that result and you end up kind of having this kind of stiff look to it, and I don't like the colors, and it's okay as a page just for practice, but it doesn't have that loose feeling of the other one. Here is a page that I really like. It's colorful and I wanted to draw some seashells, and I designed this type of seashell decoration thingy and I made it super colorful. Here is what I used. I used some watercolor pencils for the base. I activated the colors with water, let it dry, and then went over it with these same watercolor pencils without being activated, and some other colored pencils which are normal color pencils and not watercolor. And I wrote down which ones I used in case I want to do something similar to this. Here I just wanted to use some technical pens and use them again for, I wanted to do something with stippling, and so I designed this page with these flowers and these cute bees and this pattern. Surprisingly, this didn't take me too long to finish, and I had a lot of fun doing all these details. And at the end I added some gold gel pen to the bees for some color pop. And here I did some fish with watercolor pencils and some more fish. So here I used all sorts of materials. I used a Pentel brush pen and Ecoline brush pens and Sigma microns and ballpoint pen, and here is a technical pen, everything. So this one is one that I really like, this page. I just put on the blue underpainting and then I drew some fish on top of that with a indigo polychromo and some Derwent drawing colored pencils, and I love especially this one. Again, this wasn't planned out and it feels more loose than other pages. Another doodle page, just ink and a Ecoline brush pen. For this one I used the same technique, so I did the underpainting and then went over it with colored pencils, and I really like this one as well. And some more fish. I told you guys this sketchbook was full of fish, doodles and pages. So here again, underpainting with watercolors and then went on top with colored pencils. And here I wanted to practice some lettering. I had bought some different inks from Rohrer and Klingner, the sketch ink, and I filled up some of my fountain pens with that ink, and I wanted to use them here for lettering. And since I was in the mood of painting and drawing fish, I designed this cute couple in here, and I have a YouTube video on my channel for this one. So I love this page. It's super colorful, and I love the palette I used, and they look so cute. Here are some graphite studies. I saw these pictures on Pinterest and I wanted to practice drawing shiny objects with graphite. Here I did some whale types of fish with, I wanted to use the Schminke Horadam granulating colors, which don't work super perfect on this paper because it's not watercolor paper, but it looks cool. And then I went over the watercolor and added some details with colored pencils, and here with ink. So here are some more fish sketches with ink and Ecoline brush pens. And here I went on Pinterest and I wanted to practice some portraits, and I did these with Polychromos colored pencils. I just went straight in and didn't do a sketch, so I just went in straight with the Polychromo, and I wanted to keep it monochrome. So from here I dedicated some pages on practicing portraits. So for all of these I went on Pinterest and used reference for this. Here are some graphite portraits, and for these two ladies I went in with a base of Ecoline brush pens and then went on top with Polychromos colored pencils, and I love how these ones turned out. These two I did with the Tombow Fudenosuke ink brush pen and some more graphite portrait studies. And for these two pages I used reference pictures of sculptures, and I went in with watercolors and then added some colored pencils on top to darken up some areas. And for this page I decided to leave it at watercolors, and I really love working with these colors. I think these turned out very pretty. Here I just saw this quote and I wanted to draw something that worked with this sentence, and so I came up with this one. And here I just did some quick pattern design with ink and then colored everything in with watercolors. For this one I also have a video on my YouTube channel. I did these cute fairies with ink, watercolor and colored pencils, and I wanted to draw some mandalas, which I haven't done in a long time, and it was Inktober, so I didn't do the whole challenge, but I wanted to draw something with ink, and so I did these two. So here is quite an ugly page of fish, but I think it turned out pretty funny, especially this guy in here, so I wanted to include something silly in it. Not every page has to be perfect, so keep that in mind. It's just a sketchbook, just have fun with it. So during this period I had some pretty serious art block. I was working hard on getting out of that situation, and so these kind of pages, even though they end up looking ugly, but really helped me getting through that phase. Here is a still life study, which I did with watercolor and colored pencils. And here I just added this to fill up the page. This one I was a bit mad about because I bought this fountain pen, which is the Sailor Fude de Mannen pen, you know, with the kind of, not if you can see, but it's not like a normal fountain pen, but it has like this angled tip. And when I filled up this pen for the first time, I used this in my Royal Talents sketchbook, and the paper in that sketchbook is very smooth, and I love how this pen works and the kind of lines that you get with this, the variety of it. And so I was excited to use this pen, but the paper in here is extremely difficult to work with, and so a lot of ink pens don't work in the sketchbook because the paper is not smooth. It is quite fluffy and it is thick, but soaks in everything in. The ink doesn't flow as well, and so you can kind of see here, I just started with this bird, but then I saw that it was impossible to get a decent ink flow out of the pen on this paper. So it's not a problem with the pen itself, it's the combination of that pen on this paper. Since then I used this pen on other types of paper and it works perfectly fine. So, but since I started this and I saw that it wasn't working, I got very frustrated, and you kind of can see it here. But anyways, so here I decided to do some more still life studies, and here I was still in an Artblock situation, and so I just was a lot on Pinterest and sketching stuff out here with ink directly and colored everything in with watercolors. Then I designed this page here, and here I did some more drawings of sculptures. For this one I used the Staedtler graphite pencils, but the matte ones, and this paper is really difficult to work on because it's for dry mediums, but when you use something with a hard lid just like these pens or for example polychromos, you really reach the limit of layers that you can use pretty quick, and so you get to a point where you scratch off the surface of the paper, and so I wasn't able to do any more dark shadows on this one, but it's okay. So here I doodled this tree in with an ink pen, and here are my drawings for my Halloween video that I have here on YouTube. I had a lot of fun doing these 2 pages. I love how these one turned out. And here I did some more Halloween drawings. So I sketched out a couple of ideas for my Halloween video for this one, and I had some leftover ideas that I really liked, for example this one, and so I did this. And for most of these I have short videos on my TikTok channel, so you can go and watch these if you want some quick fun little art videos. So I love football, and I was watching a game. During halftime I just sketched this one in. I just did the underpainting for that. I planned on doing something else on these pages. I had them prepped for that, but then I decided to just sketch some football players and doing some gesture drawing, which I really need to practice more, and it is fun to do. So I just went in straight with a ballpoint pen and then added some details with a colored pencil. So here again I prepared these 2 pages with these underpaintings, and I doodled on top without planning out anything, and I love the looseness of this one. So here I did some portrait studies with ballpoint pen, and again underpainting, and I did these cute birds on top of it. Here is just a quick ballpoint pen sketch that I did. This is a tree that I have in my garden, and it looked pretty during autumn with the colorful leaves, but in my mind I thought this one would turn out different, but it isn't that good, but it's okay. So, and from here on you have the spreads that I have in my YouTube video where I finished this sketchbook. So I just got to a point where I realized this has taken me 8 months to finish, and I need to finish this in this week. And so I just sat down and I hustled through it and I finished it. So here I designed this lady. I just go more in depth on the video, so if you're interested in the process you can go and watch that. So here I just doodled some sunflowers, and since I had a lot of fun with the other lady I decided to do another one, and some more birds. And here is the last spread where I just drew this flower bouquet, and then I designed the last page with a motivational quote. which, as I said in the beginning of the video, I like to do on my first and on my last page. So this sketchbook in retrospective is very different than all my other sketchbooks that I finished up to this point, and I will be doing sketchbook tours for those as well, so you will kind of see the difference between those. And I finished 4 of these sketchbooks, which is the Hahnemühle D&S Sketchbook, but I've kind of come to a point, as much as I've had fun using those, and I will be using these in the future still, but I don't want to limit myself just by using one sketchbook, but I like to use multiple sketchbooks at a time. And also I started out a new one, which is the Fabriano Venezia sketchbook, and that one opened up a lot more doors for other mediums for me to use on that, because this paper is very limited with what you can use on it. And I know it isn't meant for the mediums that I use, so I for myself make them work on this paper, but also some other mediums that are meant for this paper, like dry mediums, don't work too good on it. And I got to a point where I need something else, and I want to do other stuff, but this paper doesn't allow me to do this stuff, and I kind of get frustrated. And I will be using the sketchbook in the future, but I will also use other sketchbooks as well, and just use different types of paper and experiment. And there will never be one sketchbook that is perfect for everything, so there are so many sketchbooks out there, and I just feel like I really need to try out other things. So this is a long video, and now we finally come to an end. I've talked a lot, and I hope you guys liked this video. I hope you guys liked looking through my sketchbook, and I will be filming some more sketchbook tours in the future, and obviously I will do a lot of paintings and drawings and vlogs, and so stay tuned for everything that comes on this channel in the future. And if you like this video, leave a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet, that would help me out a lot. And for every subscriber that I have, thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate it. I love art and I love doing these videos, and I'm having a lot of fun doing these. And so thank you for watching, and I wish you all a nice day, and I see you on my next video. Bye guys.